T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. He's your only black friend, so he's your best black friend. No one is waiting for another black friend, because black friends are rare, as you should be aware. He smiles like Richard Pryor, so just sit and stare. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.
Hey everybody, Tyler here. It is getting so hot in here. So hot that I just want to take off my clothes. So I'm not going to take off my clothes for this live stream. But yes, for this video presentation, what I'm going to do is talk about the Christian origins of hell and where does the ideas come from. So basically, this is going to be the presentation throughout the video. If anybody watching this presentation have any sort of theological standpoint that they have, please leave this live stream, because once you finish this live stream, your perspective is going to change and you're not going to see the Bible the same way. So let's look at the data when it comes down to this particular belief in hellfire. And this comes directly from the Pew Research Center about this information. It says right here that 58% of the American population believe in hellfire. About 34% don't believe in hellfire, and about 8% actually believe in it. Now, when it comes down to religious demographics, so 32% of Buddhists believe in it, and about 63% don't. About 63% of Catholics believe in it, and about 29% don't necessarily believe in it, and 8% don't really know. When it comes down to evangelical Protestants, about 82% actually believe in the idea, while 11% don't really believe in the idea. For Hindus, about 28% believe in it, and about 68% don't really believe in it. Now, for historical Black Protestants, about 82% believe in it, and 12% don't believe in it. And keep in mind that Black people in the United States are among the most religious demographics in the population. For Jehovah's Witnesses, about 7% do in fact believe in it, and 89% don't believe in it. Jewish people, about 22% actually believe in the idea, and the vast majority, about 70%, don't really believe in it. For mainstream Protestant, about 60% actually believe, and about 29% don't really believe in the idea. For Mormonism, about 62% believe in it, and about 30% don't believe. For Muslims, about 76% believe in the idea of hellfire, and about 18% don't believe in the idea of hellfire. When it comes down to Orthodox Christians, about 59% actually believe in the idea of hellfire, and about 31% actually believe in the idea. Now, for unaffiliated people, about 27% believe in the idea of hellfire, and the vast majority of us don't really buy into the idea of hellfire. Now, without further hesitation, let's go to the slideshow and check out what I have for you guys for this particular issue. The Greek origins of hell. And this right here is like an image right here, like all the people just burning up forever and ever. So let's check out the next slide right here. Now, the first word that is basically used within the Bible is the word that is known as Gehenna. It says in Mark chapter 9, verse 43, that it is better for you to enter into life maimed than having two hands to go into Gehenna and to the fire that shall never be quenched. According to Luke chapter 12, verse 5, it says right here that fear him after he has killed has the power to be cast into Gehenna. And the final, I guess, example right here comes directly from Matthew chapter 23, verse 15, where it says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel land, and you see to when one proselytes, and when it's to when he is to make choice of a son of Gehenna as yourself. And I guess like the one main reason why that word is so popular within the New Testament is largely because basically the idea comes directly from the Old Testament, because Gehenna actually used to be a place that's actually a real place that is in Israel where all this stuff actually was occurring. Because according to Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 71, it says, they have built a high place as a Toplah, which is the valley of the son of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I did not command, nor did it come into my heart. So basically, when it talks about like this place of like Gehenna, is referring to a place where basically there was actually people being sacrificed for their sons and daughters in that particular case. The next example comes directly from Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 40, where it basically talks about this right here. The whole valley where dead bodies and ashes are strewn, and the trenches out to the Karan Valley on the east, as far as the corner of the horse gate, will be holy to the Lord. The city will never be again uprooted or demolished. And the other example of this, again, comes directly from Isaiah chapter 66, verse 24, where it says, they shall go forth and look upon the corpses of the ones who are transgressed against me. For whom they have not died, and their fight is not quenched, they shall be abhorrent to all flesh. So basically, again, Gehenna is actually a real place. This is what Gehenna looks like right now in Israel. And it actually doesn't look as bad as is depicted in the Bible, I guess largely because of historical reasons. But it looks really nice. It looks really green. So anybody who wants to go to Gehenna, they can get a plane ticket to go there and see what it looks like. Now, the second thing that the Bible uses for the case of that idea comes directly from Hades. Now, it says right here, according to Luke chapter 16, verse 23 to 26, in Hades, where the rich man was being tormented, he looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus by his side. He called out, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and sent Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger into the water and cool my tongue, for I am in agony in these flames. But Abraham said, child, remember that during your lifetime you received your good things, and Lazarus is in like matter evil things. But now he is comfort here, and you are in agony. Besides all of this, between you and us is a great chance that have been fixed, so that those who might not want to pass from here, for you cannot do so, and no one can cross from there to us. So another example of the idea of Hades within the New Testament for Jesus Christ comes directly from Matthew chapter 11, verse 23, where it says, and you, will you be exiled to heaven? No, I'll be brought down to Hades. For if the mighty deeds done and you have been done in Sodom, it shall be remain until this day. The final example of this in the New Testament comes directly from Matthew chapter 16, verse 18, where it talks about right here, I also said to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. So the question then becomes, like, what exactly is the concept of Hades, and where did it actually come directly from? I will have like a whole entire series of videos for you guys to show like the audiobooks of the various ideas of Hades within Greek mythology. Because in the ancient Greek world, there was like various types of like ideas of the afterlife. The first type is basically, of course, Elysium, which is like the Greek heaven during that time period. The second place was Hades, where basically all the souls go into judgment and only wait their trial during that particular place. And the third place that's also really popular within Greek mythology is something that is known as Tartarus. And now, according to the legends of the Library of Apollodorus, what happened was that after, of course, Kronos was basically, of course, exiled directly by Zeus by fighting him, he went directly down to Hades. He went to the Taurus and was locked there forever. And so there's also more other kind of cases. For example, this example comes directly from the ideas of the 12 labors of Hercules, where basically Hercules himself has to go to Hades and get like the dog Cerberus directly from Hades. So let's listen to that particular book and see what the book and the story is like for that particular story.
Chapter 134. The 12th Labour. The Capture of Cerberus. Heracles' last and most difficult labour was to bring the dog Cerberus up from Tartarus. As a preliminary, he went to Eleusis, where he asked to partake of the mysteries and wear the myrtle wreath. Nowadays, any Greek of good repute may be initiated at Eleusis, but since in Heracles' day Athenians alone were admitted, Theseus suggested that a certain Peleus should adopt him. This Peleus did, and when Heracles had been purified for his slaughter of the centaurs, because no one with blood-stained hands could view the mysteries, he was duly initiated by Orpheus's son, Musaeus, Theseus acting as his sponsor. However, Eumolpus, the founder of the greater mysteries, had decreed that no foreigners should be admitted, and therefore the Eleusinians, loath to refuse Heracles' request, yet doubtful whether his adoption by Peleus would qualify him as a true Athenian, established the lesser mysteries on his account. Others say that Demeter herself honoured him by founding the lesser mysteries on this occasion. Every year, 2 sets of Eleusinian mysteries are held, the greater in honour of Demeter and Kore, and the lesser in honour of Kore alone. These lesser mysteries, a preparation for the greater, are a dramatic reminder of Dionysus's fate, performed by the Eleusinians at Agri on the river Ilissus in the month Anthesterion. The principal rites are the sacrifice of a sow, which the initiates first wash in the river Cantharus, and their subsequent purification by a priest who bears the name Hydranus. They must then wait at least 1 year until they may participate in the greater mysteries, which are held at Eleusis itself in the month Bidromion, and must also take an oath of secrecy, administered by the mystagogue, before being prepared for these. Meanwhile, they are refused admittance to the sanctuary of Demeter, and wait in the vestibule throughout the solemnities. Thus cleansed and prepared, Heracles descended to Tartarus from Laconian Tinarum, or some say from the Acherusian Peninsula near Heraclea on the Black Sea, where marks of his descent are still shown at a great depth. He was guided by Athene and Hermes, for whenever, exhausted by his labours, he cried out in despair to Zeus, Athene always came hastening down to comfort him. Terrified by Heracles' scowl, Charon ferried him across the river Styx without demur, in punishment of which irregularity he was fettered by Hades for 1 entire year. As Heracles stepped ashore from the crazy boat, all the ghosts fled, except Meleager and the Gorgon Medusa. At the sight of Medusa he drew his sword, but Hermes reassured him that she was only a phantom, and when he aimed an arrow at Meleager, who was wearing bright armour, Meleager laughed. "You have nothing to fear from the dead," he said. And they chatted amicably for a while, Heracles offering in the end to marry Meleager's sister, Deianira. Near the gates of Tartarus, Heracles found his friends Theseus and Pirithous fastened to cruel chairs and wrenched Theseus free, but was obliged to leave Pirithous behind. Next, he rolled away the stone under which Demeter had imprisoned Ascalaphus, and then, wishing to gratify the ghosts with a gift of warm blood, slaughtered one of Hades' cattle. Their herdsman, Menetes or Menetius, the son of Cuthonimus, challenged him to a wrestling match, but was seized around the middle and had his ribs crushed. At this, Persephone, who came out from her palace and greeted Heracles like a brother, intervened and pleaded for Menetes' life. When Heracles demanded Cerberus, Hades, standing by his wife's side, replied grimly, "He is yours, if you can master him without using your club or your arrows." Heracles found the dog chained to the gates of Acheron and resolutely gripped him by the throat, from which rose 3 heads, each maned with serpents. The barbed tail flew up to strike, but Heracles, protected by the lion pelt, did not relax his grip until Cerberus choked and yielded. On his way back from Tartarus, Heracles wove himself a wreath from the tree which Hades had planted in the Elysian fields as a memorial to his mistress, the beautiful nymph Leuce. The outer leaves of this wreath remain black, because that is the color of the underworld, but those next to Heracles' brow were bleached a silver white by his glorious sweat. Hence the white poplar, or aspen, is sacred to him, its color signifying that he has labored in both worlds. With Athene's assistance, Heracles recrossed the river Styx in safety, and then half dragged, half carried Cerberus up the chasm near Troezen, through which Dionysus had conducted his mother Semele. In the temple of Saviour Artemis, built by Theseus over the mouth of this chasm, altars now stand sacred to the infernal deities. At Troezen also, a fountain discovered by Heracles and called after him is shown in front of Hippolytus's former palace. According to another account, Heracles dragged Cerberus, bound with adamantine chains, up a subterranean path which leads to the gloomy cave of Ancone, near Meriandone on the Black Sea. As Cerberus resisted, averting his eyes from the sunlight and barking furiously with all 3 mouths, his slaver flew across the green fields and gave birth to the poisonous plant aconite, also called hecateus, because Hecate was the first to use it. Still another account is that Heracles came back to the upper air through Tinarum, famous for its cave-like temple with an image of Poseidon standing before it. But if a road ever led thence to the underworld, it has since been blocked up. Finally, some say that he emerged from the precinct of Lephistian Zeus, on Mount Lephistius, where stands an image of bright-eyed Heracles. Yet all agree, at least, that when Heracles brought Cerberus to Mycenae, Eurystheus, who was offering a sacrifice, handed him a slave's portion, reserving the best cuts for his own kinsman, and that Heracles showed his just resentment by killing 3 of Eurystheus' sons, Perimedes, Eurybius, and Eurypylus. Besides the aconite, Heracles also discovered the following simples: the all-heel Heracleon, or wild origanum, the Siderian Heracleon, with its thin stem, red flower, and leaves like the corianders, which grows near lakes and rivers, and is an excellent remedy for all wounds inflicted by iron, and the Hyasycamos, or henbane, which causes vertigo and insanity. The Nymphaean Heracleon, which has a club-like root, was named after a certain nymph deserted by Heracles, who died of jealousy. It makes men impotent for the space of 12 days.
Again, this example comes directly from the book called The Greek Myths, and it talks about the 12 labors of Hercules and how basically Hercules went all the way to basically Hades to get to Cerberus and basically try to take Cerberus back up to the whole entire place. So the next example in which Hades is actually within Greek mythology comes directly from the book called the Odyssey. There's actually a chapter in book 11 which goes into great details about what exactly occurred for Odysseus for that particular place of Hades. So what we're going to do for that whole entire case for the Odyssey, what we're going to do for the Odyssey is we're going to actually listen to book number 11 of the Odyssey to check out what exactly it depicts Hades as another example of what I meant for my particular example. So let's go to book number 11, and we're going to go to I think at least 12 to basically go into more details about what happened in Hades for the case of Odysseus. Let's see, gonna be, yeah, I think around right here. Perfect, right here.
He. So I spoke, and at once he made answer and said, Easy is the word that I shall say and put in your mind. Whoever of those that are dead and gone you shall allow to approach the blood, he will speak truly to you. But whomever you refuse, he will go back again. So saying, the ghost of the Lord Tiresias went back into the house of Hades, when he had declared his prophecies. But I remained there steadfastly until my mother came up and drank the dark blood. At once, then, she knew me, and with wailing she spoke to me winged words. My child, how did you come beneath the murky darkness, being still alive? Hard is it for those that live to behold these realms, for between are great rivers and appalling streams. Oceanus first, which one may in no way cross on foot, but only if one has a well-built ship. Have you only now come here from Troy after long wanderings with your ship and your companions? And have you not reached Ithaca, nor seen your wife in your halls? So she spoke, and I made answer and said, My mother, necessity brought me down to the house of Hades to seek prophecy from the ghost of Theban Tiresias, for not yet have I come near to the shore of Achaia, nor have I as yet set foot on my own land, but have constantly been wandering, laden with woe, from the day when first I went with noble Agamemnon to Ilium, famed for its horses, to fight with the Trojans. But come, tell me this, and declare it truly. What fate of pitiless death overcame you? Was it long disease? Or did the archer, Artemis, assail you with her gentle shafts and slay you? And tell me of my father and my son, whom I left behind me. Does the honor that was mine still remain with them? Or does some other man now possess it? And do they say that I shall no longer return? Then tell me of my wedded wife, of her purpose and of her mind. Does she remain with her son and keep all things safe? Or has one already married her, whoever is best of the Achaeans? So I spoke, and my honored mother answered without delay. Only too truly she remains with steadfast heart in your halls, and ever sorrowfully for her do the nights and days wane as she weeps. But the noble honor that was yours no man yet possesses, but Telemachus holds your lands unchallenged, and feasts at equal banquets, such as it is fitting that a law-giving man should share, for all men invite him. But your father remains there in the tilled land, and does not come to the city, nor has he bed and cloaks and bright coverlets for bedding, but through the winter he sleeps in the house where the slaves sleep, and the ashes by the fire, and wears upon his body humble clothes. But when summer comes and rich autumn, then all about the slope of his vineyard plot are strown his humble beds of fallen leaves. There he lies, sorrowing, and nurses his great grief in his heart, in longing for your return. And heavy old age has come upon him. In the same way, I too perished and met my fate. Neither did the keen-sighted archer goddess assail me in my halls with her gentle shafts, and slay me, nor did any disease come upon me, such as oftness with loathsome wasting takes the spirit from the limbs. No, it was longing for you, and for your counsels, glorious Odysseus, and for your gentle-heartedness that robbed me of honey-sweet life. So she spoke, and I wondered in my heart how I might clasp the ghost of my dead mother. 3 times I sprang toward her, and my will said, "Clasp her," and 3 times she flitted from my arms like a shadow or a dream. As for me, the pain grew ever sharper in my heart, and I spoke and addressed her with winged words. "My mother, why do you not stay for me when I wish to clasp you, so that even in the house of Hades we two may throw our arms about each other and take our fill of chill lamenting? Is this some phantom that august Persephone has sent me, so that I may lament and groan still more?" So I spoke, and my honored mother at once answered, "Ah me, my child, ill-fated above all men, it is not that Persephone, daughter of Zeus, is deceiving you, but this is the appointed way with mortals when one dies. For the sinews no longer hold the flesh and the bones together, but the strong force of blazing fire destroys these as soon as the spirit leaves the white bones, and the ghost, like a dream, flutters off and is gone. But hurry to the light as fast as you can, and bear all these things in mind, so that hereafter you may tell them to your wife." Thus we two talked with one another. And the women came, for august Persephone sent them, all those that had been the wives and the daughters of chieftains. These flocked in throngs about the dark blood, and I considered how I might question each, and this seemed to my mind the best plan. I drew my long sword from beside my stout thigh, and would not allow them to drink the dark blood all at one time. So they drew near, one after the other, and each declared her birth, and I questioned them all. Then, you must know, the first that I saw was high-born Tyro, who said that she was the daughter of flawless Salmoneus, and declared herself to be the wife of Cretheus, son of Aeolus. She fell in love with the river divine Enipeus, who is far the most beautiful of rivers that send forth their streams upon the earth. And
I think you guys got the example loud and clear for the case of the Odyssey, largely because the Odyssey is by far one of the most popular works of all time when it comes down to Greek literature. Because basically, the Odyssey was actually attributed to a person named Homer. And from what I can tell, there's like debates among scholars if it's like Homer's like one person or like many different people for that particular case. Now, the main reason why there are some people that argue that basically Homer might be like more than one person is largely because of different writing styles. But no matter the case, it appears as though that when it came down to the whole entire performance of the Odyssey, prior to actually being written down, was that it was actually passed down by oral traditions directly by performers, and the performers would actually sing the whole entire poem out loud. And so, what we have for the case of the Odyssey is actually something that's been written down after it was being done, performed live. The next example comes directly from like another book. So I'm going to show you guys like another book that has this whole entire idea of Hades. It comes directly from the book that's called the Aeneid, which has a whole entire chapter that basically dedicates itself to the idea of Hades. So, without further hesitation,
young seller,
let's go right.
and Terrett Reevely Glover.
So let's go right here for that particular part.
Book 6. So he spoke and wept, and bade his fleet full sail, and at last touched on the coast of Euboean times upon your spirit. Your name and your arms are there to keep the place in memory warm. But you yourself, my friend, I could not see nor lay your body to rest in our native earth, the land I was forced to flee. And the son of Priam answered, You, my friend, left nothing undone. Everything that was owed to me or my shade, you have paid it in due order. It was my own destiny, and the deadly wickedness of Helen that engulfed me in this disaster. It is she that has left these tokens of her love. You know yourself how that last night was spent in false rejoicing. One cannot but remember, with good reason, when at one leap the fateful horse surmounted the heights of our citadel, its womb heavy with infantry full armed, and she, pretending to lead a ritual dance, ramped through the city with a band of Trojan women in Bacchic fury, and in their midst held high a mighty firebrand, and from the top of the citadel summoned the Greeks. But as for me, worn out with cares, and sunk in heavy sleep in our luckless bridal chamber, I lay, and a sweet deep calm came over me, most like the peace of death. But in the meanwhile, my splendid wife, she even had extracted my trusty sword from under my own pillow, summoned Menelaus into the house, and flung open the doors, hoping, I have no doubt, that doing such a favor to her lover would soften his heart and erase the memory of all her evil misdeeds. But why should I drag out the story? Into the room they burst, Ulysses with them, instigator as ever of all things evil. O gods, if the lips that pray for retribution are pure, requite the Greeks with equal barbarities. But tell me, Aeneas, what chance has brought you living to this place? Did you lose your bearing at sea, or have you come at the behest of heaven? Or what dire fortune has driven you to visit these sad sunless halls, this place of confusion? As they were thus engrossed, the goddess of dawn in her rose-colored chariot had passed the zenith of her heavenly course, and maybe in such talk they would have spent the whole of their allotted time, but the Sibyl upbraided her companion curtly, and said, Night falls fast, Aeneas, yet we pass the time in weeping. This is the spot where the road forks into two. The right-hand path under the battlements of mighty Pluto. There lies my own way to Elysium. But the left-hand path leads evil men to Tartarus and the exaction of due punishments.
I want to further emphasize that in this particular chapter, Tartarus is basically a punishment for Greek gods. It was not necessarily a punishment for humans to actually suffer, according to Greek mythology and Greek legend. So let's continue on to the whole entire audiobook about what it has to say about this.
Deiphobus answered, Do not rage, great priestess. I shall depart now and take my place again, back in the dark. But you, Aeneas, go, our nation's glory. Go on your way. Go, and may fate treat you better than I was treated. Speaking these final words, he turned and went. Aeneas looked about and suddenly saw, at the foot of a crag to his left, wide battlements enringed by a triple wall, and round the wall in cataracts of flame the Phlegethon, river of Tartarus, roared and tumbled its rumbling boulders. To the fore was a huge gate with columns of adamant So strong no mortal force, nor the embattled gods of heaven themselves, could root them up. Up in the air there rose one iron tower, and there Tisiphone sat, wrapped in a mantle sodden with blood, and sleepless guarded the courtyard day and night long. And from within were heard deep groans, and the savage crack of whips, and the rattle of metal from dragging shackles. Aeneas stopped, horrified with this din, and asked, "O priestess, what manner of crimes have men committed? Tell me, and with what punishments are they expiated? Why these appalling howls that rise to heaven?" Then answered she, "Illustrious leader from Troy, it is forbidden to an upright man to cross that threshold. But when Hecate gave me authority over the groves of Avernus, she led me through all these regions and herself explained to me the punishments of heaven. Rhadamanthus of Knossos rules this place with an iron hand. Hearing each case of deceit and fitly condemning it, he compels each victim to confess to the gods those crimes whose expiation they had postponed in life, in their fatuous self-congratulation at having concealed them. And death came, and it was too late. And in a flash Tisiphone the torturer has pounced on the criminal, whirling her scourge in her right, and in her left hand brandishing a tangle of snakes, and calling the savage horde of her sisterhood. Look, look. With a creak of hinges that struck terror to the soul, the sacred gates were swinging open. Do you see what manner of sentry guards the courtyard? What shape keeps safe the threshold? Inside there sits a hydra, a monster fiercer far, with 50 throats hungrily gaping. Then there is the abyss of Tartarus itself, falling sheer to the darkness, twice as far as an upward-looking eye can see from earth to heaven. And down there, in the uttermost depths, flung down by a thunderbolt, wallow that ancient race, the Titans, born of the earth. And here I saw the twin sons of Aloeus, huge giants who with their own hands had tried to pull down the vault of heaven and dispossess almighty Jove of his kingdom. And I saw Salmoneus suffering cruel punishment. He had counterfeited the thunder of Olympus. Driving 4 horses, flourishing a torch, he went through the tribes of the Greeks. He went through the midst of the city of Elis in a triumph, demanding the homage only a god should have. Mad! If he thought that he could counterfeit with a rattle of brass and the beat of horny hooves the storm cloud, the inimitable bolt, but the Almighty Father hurled his own bolt from the core of his clouds. It was no wispy, no smoky brand, and hurled him headlong down on the wings of a whirlwind. And there to be seen was Tityos, child of the all-fostering earth, whose body lies stretched over 9 acres, and a great vulture with its hooked beak plucks at his undying liver, and gripes his entrails, rich source of agony, mining its every meal from his deep heart perpetually, and giving no respite to the ever-renewing sinew. Why call to mind Ixion, Pirithous, or the Lapiths, over whom towers a dark crag in the split second of ever falling? Or tell of the banquets, the luscious fare piled on the banqueting tables with props of gold? But there, at the head crouches the chiefest of the Furies, and bars their hands from touching a crumb, but leaps up clutching a torch and shrieking with all her might. And here are those who in their lives detested their own brothers, who struck their parents, inveigled relatives into deceit, who grew rich and became misers and gloated alone, and never shared a peace with their dependents. These were the most. Adulterers killed for their crimes, traitors in war betraying their masters without fear or shame. All are penned here to await their punishments. Ask now what punishment, what form of doom must overwhelm these men in their grim destiny. Some roll huge stones, others spread-eagled hang from the spokes of a wheel. Theseus sits in despair, and so will sit forever. From the depth of his misery, Phlegyas moans his message loudly through all the shades. Be warned, learn to be righteous, and do not despise the gods. And here is a man who sold his country for gold, and let in a dictator. This man could be bribed to make or unmake laws. This one committed incest with his daughter. All of them dared some hideous crime, and did it. Why, if I had 100 tongues and mouths, and a voice of iron, I could not complete the list of every crime and name each punishment. The ancient priestess ceased, and then she added, Come now, you must move on. You must fulfill your chosen duty. We must quicken our steps. I see the ramparts forged in the Cyclops' furnace, and in that archway, standing opposite, is the spot divinely ordained for us to set our offering.
Again, I want to further emphasize this comes directly from the book called the Aeneid. It comes directly from chapter 6, the Underworld. Now, let's go back to the slideshow presentation for a bit about the last part that I had to show you guys. So the last thing is, of course, as you guys heard in the audiobook, is the idea of Tartarus. It says right here, according to 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4 through 6, For if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down to Tartarus and delivered them in the chains of darkness reserved for judgment, and did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8 people, a preacher of the righteousness, bringing to the flood on the world of the ungodly, and turned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them to destruction, making them an example for those who afterward will live ungodly. So basically, like I said before, and what you guys heard directly from the audiobook, Tartarus was actually a place that was actually reserved for Greek gods. It was no way, shape, and form directly for like humans. This was only specific for the Greek gods who have done really, really, really terrible things. But like with everything else, how is it that the idea of hell got so incredibly popular in Christian circles? The main reason why this idea has gotten so popular was largely because of a person named St. Augustine. There's actually a book that comes directly from St. Augustine called City of God, which goes into great details about the ideas of hellfire that comes directly from his book. In it, he talks about how basically is actually a place of gnashing of teeth and all this kind of stuff. So let's listen to the audiobook directly from St. Augustine to hear more about his thoughts and his ideas about hellfire as he teaches it nowadays, and it's also being used within the modern day Christian settings for churches. It looks like the video is kind of loading a little bit for the audiobook. Maybe I need to probably open it up again and see if it actually works again. All right, let's try it one more time, I guess. Like, try to open up the audiobook directly for City of God. Uh, all right, let's try it again. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it's gonna keep loading up for that audiobook. Like everything else was doing fine until this audiobook. I don't know what's going on right here. I guess it's like some sort of curse. This evil curse of me talking about this. Oh, okay. Let's try again. It says like a warning, but it would not necessarily work. Okay, let's try it again. Let's see. Share screen, cloud player. Oh my goodness. Please work this time. Is it not going to work this? I know it's like a big audiobook that I have. Oh wow. You know, let me try to, play the audiobook directly from my microphone because I know for a fact that I have this on my cell phone too because it's not working on the computer right here. So we're going to listen directly from my cell phone, this audiobook. Let's see, it's called City of God. I'm gonna go to City I got on my cell phone and play the audio directly from my cell phone. Not the best kind of audio per se, but it's better than not having no audio.
Book 21st, Part 1, Argument. Of the end reserved for the city of the devil, namely, the eternal punishment of the damned, and of the arguments which unbelief brings against it. 1. Of the order of the discussion, which requires that we first speak of the eternal punishment of the lost in company with the devil, and then of the eternal happiness of the saints. I propose, with such ability as God may grant me, to discuss in this book more thoroughly the nature of the punishment which shall be assigned to the devil and all his retainers, when the two cities, the one of God, the other of the devil, shall have reached their proper ends through Jesus Christ our Lord, the judge of quick and dead. And I have adopted this order, and preferred to speak, first of the punishment of the devils, and afterwards of the blessedness of the saints, because the body partakes of either destiny. And it seems to be more incredible that bodies endure in everlasting torments than that they continue to exist without any pain in everlasting felicity. Consequently, when I shall have demonstrated that that punishment ought not to be incredible, this will materially aid me in proving that which is much more credible, that is, the immortality of the bodies of the saints which are delivered from all pain. Neither is this order out of harmony with the divine writings, in which sometimes, indeed, the blessedness of the good is placed first, as in the words, "They that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation." But sometimes also last, as, "The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things which offend, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of his Father. And that, these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal." And though we have not room to cite instances, anyone who examines the prophets will find that they adopt now the one arrangement, and now the other. My own reason for following the latter order I have given. 2. Whether it is possible for bodies to last forever in burning fire. What, then, can I adduce to convince those who refuse to believe that human bodies, animated and living, can not only survive death, but also last in the torments of everlasting fires? They will not allow us to refer this simply to the power of the Almighty, but demand that we persuade them by some example. If, then, we reply to them that there are animals which certainly are corruptible, because they are mortal, and which yet live in the midst of flames, and likewise that in springs of water so hot that no one can put his hand in it with impunity, a species of worm is found, which not only lives there, but cannot live elsewhere. They either refuse to believe these facts unless we can show them, or, if we are in circumstances to prove them by ocular demonstration or by adequate testimony, they contend, with the same skepticism, that these facts are not examples of what we seek to prove, inasmuch as these animals do not live forever, and besides, they live in that blaze of heat without pain, the element of fire being congenial to their nature, and causing it to thrive and not to suffer. Just as if it were not more incredible that it should thrive than that it should suffer in such circumstances. It is strange that anything should suffer in fire and yet live, but stranger that it should live in fire and not suffer. If, then, the latter be believed, why not also the former? 3. Whether bodily suffering necessarily terminates in the destruction of the flesh. But, say they, there is no body which can suffer and cannot also die. How do we know this? For who can say with certainty that the devils do not suffer in their bodies, when they own that they are grievously tormented? And if it is replied that there is no earthly body, that is to say, no solid and perceptible body, or, in one word, no flesh, which can suffer and cannot die, is not this to tell us only what men have gathered from experience and their bodily senses? For they indeed have no acquaintance with any flesh but that which is mortal, and this is their...
I think you guys basically got the point. Like, basically, this audiobook again comes directly from St. Augustine, who basically came up and popularized the idea of hellfire. And because of the ideas that comes directly from St. Augustine, that's why the hell idea continued to persist to this very day in most Christian denomination. So to recap everything I just said directly for this whole entire presentation, one of the words that are used within the New Testament is Gehenna, and Gehenna referred to a historical place in Israel. It's not about burning forever and ever. It's about burning trash cans. The second thing I have noted was the word Hades that's also been used directly in the New Testament. And Hades referred to a place of judgment. Is not necessarily a place where humans suffer and burn forever and ever. The third thing I mentioned throughout the whole entire presentation was something that was known as Tartarus. And basically, Tartarus was a place that's actually reserved directly for the Greek gods. And the main reason why this whole entire idea of pain, suffering, agony, gnashing of teeth, of hellfire that we know today, again, comes directly from St. Augustine. Now, there is some Christian thought out there that open up to the idea of the notion of universalism. That is the idea that basically, no matter your religious background, you're basically saved no matter what. But that position of universalism or universal salvation is not necessarily shared directly by many Christians. And so, unfortunately, even though the idea of hellfire is not necessarily supported in the Bible, people continue to believe in these ideas to this very day. But what do you guys think about this presentation? Tell me in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.